Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, my name is Nathan Novian with Novian Solutions. So, you clicked on this video because you want to learn how to caulk baseboards professionally. While this is a job that really most people can perform, there is a vast difference between an amateur caulk job and a professional caulk job. So hopefully I can give you a couple quick tips and tricks to help you advance your skill. Now, when I go to a job site, there's 4 things I look at before I do any kind of caulking. The 4 things I look at, these are going to determine what gun I use, what type of caulking I use, how I cut the tip of my caulking, do I need tape, and so on. The 4 things I look at: 1, have the wall and baseboard been painted? 2, if they have been painted, are they opposing colors, like a red wall and a white baseboard? 3, what's the texture on the wall? Is this a heavy knockdown or heavy orange peel, or are we working with a smooth wall level 5 finish? And number 4 are the gaps between the drywall and your baseboard, and how much do they fluctuate? So the wall behind us that we'll be working on, this is a wall it's very common. It's got a light orange peel texture. It's got a 1x4 baseboard, a very common basic setup, which will be great for this demonstration. So let me show you the 3 tools that we're going to be working with real quick, and then we'll get ahead and go get it going. So you want to make sure your surface is cleaned off. It is very important. I use something called a dust brush. If you're a painter, you know exactly what a dust brush is. It's just an older brush that served its purpose, and now it's used to prepare surfaces by cleaning off that dust. You can go ahead and use a rag or a wet rag. However, I find I get better results with a dust brush. Now remember, dust and caulking do not mix together, so you want to make sure that surface is cleaned off. The next one is getting your caulking out there. Now there really is a wide variety of caulkings out there. For the most part, these are the 2 common ones I'm going to be using. These are just latex caulks, and this is an Alex Plus. It's a very common one out there. It's a great product, and it's around $3 or $4 a tube. There's an Alex Flex, which is slight variations, too much to go into to describe the differences. Very similar. This is about $4 or $5. I'm going to be using Alex Flex today. Now the last thing is the caulking gun. And for this kind of application, there's really 2 guns that we'll use. One, it's drip versus dripless. Now, a drip gun, which means that when you go to the hardware store and you get a caulking gun, you put it in and you squeeze the trigger, it's going to continue to press and release more caulking. This is a dripless gun. A dripless gun means that when I squeeze the trigger, it doesn't move anymore. It's not putting any more pressure onto it. So there's pros and cons to each one. I use both of them. However, I do stay away from the $3 or $4 caulking guns out there, those drip ones, because they're not made very well. They will break down on me. So we got our tools. Let's go over there and let's go get it started. Okay, so we're gonna start out with our dust brush. Make sure that we clean off the surface. I do 1 or 2 passes, enough to make sure that there's no dust left on here. Now we're going to go ahead and prepare our caulking tube. Now when I cut it, because there's not a big gap between the wall and the baseboard, I don't need to take off very much. So I just do a little amount. This is about a 30-degree angle. The angles are up to your discretion. If you do too much, you'll be having to really angle your caulking gun. If you don't do enough, you'll be straight. So I like to have a personal, just kind of a 30-degree angle that I work with. Now, the 2 things that really can make or break amateur versus professional caulking is how much caulking you put on. Now, if you put on too much and I go and smooth it, it's just going to get all on the wall, all on the baseboard. It's going to distort the colors. I may have to come back and paint my baseboard, paint my wall again, and I don't want to do that, or I have to clean it up with a bunch of water. Unnecessary steps that we can avoid. The second one is if I come in and I apply too little, it will shrink, it can crack, and then I have to come back and redo it. So it's about finding that perfect blend between the 2. Now, when I put it on, after I start smoothing, this is the difference here. Some people will use like spoons I've seen and some other tools, troweling tools. I personally will just use my finger. However, make sure your finger is clean, that's key. So when I'm smoothing though, I'm making sure that I have contact with the wall and with the baseboard, not so much the middle edge, the middle inside corner here. So when I'm going, I'm just smoothing it out. I'm just hovering over the top. Now I've been doing this a long time, so I can tell if I'm starting to build up too much caulking, if I'm dragging too much. If so, I'll back off a little bit, but I'll still continue. If I'm doing too little, then I'll sometimes press a little firmer to get it back in. And what you want to make sure is you're doing long passes, not short like this, as you just kind of keep touching and scuffing up the wall. So long passes, just like that. So let's go ahead and get this going. Generally with latex caulk, you don't need to puncture it. However, If you've been sitting a day, you may have to puncture it again. So I'm gonna start in this corner here. And here we go. I'm gonna take my time, apply an adequate amount, not too much, not too little. Areas that I can see the wall is getting a bigger gap, I am gonna slow down and squeeze the trigger a little bit more to get more of it out. Now I'm gonna stop there, and because this gun, it allows me to stop without worrying about it coming out. So starting over here, this has a bigger opening, so I'm gonna go slower. Okay, not too much though. And I know from watching a video, it almost looks perfect from up there, but if you get down, get closer, there is a difference. So now that I've applied it, there's not too much, not too little. There might be some areas where I need some more. So I'm gonna start off by just a nice pull. Just like that. And I'll come back again. And with my finger. Now let me take you closer over here and show you what it's like up close. And that's it. Now you know how to do caulking on baseboards. Thanks for staying with me. I hope you learned a couple things. Good luck on your projects, and I'll see you at the next one.